All right, this is a 30-second commercial, and I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, but please stay with me. In just 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. This company has been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years. I didn't know that little lizard was over 75 years old. And anytime you need help, you can speak to one of those trained specialists. And anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. The company's called Geico. Go to geico.com today. Sorry for all the numbers, and in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... we're out of time.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Spike's Car Radio. We've got a special show for you today. Going to Emory Motorsports. I'm actually right outside the gate of Emory Motorsports, and I've got my little portable podcasting device, and I'm going to walk around with Rod Emory and have a look at this new workshop. New to me. I haven't seen it. I saw the old one, but probably new to you. This is where the Porsche Maestro, the Outlaw Master Rod Emory, builds his cars. There's a big gate here that says, just stay out unless I invite you in. I feel like I'm outside the gates of the Willy Wonka factory, and I've got a golden ticket to see some cool stuff. And boy, there's a lot going on right in this moment. I don't know if you noticed there was an Emory Speedster on Bring a Trailer that the auction ended 2 minutes ago. Yesterday, the bidding was up. I believe it was aquamarine blue, one of Rod's earlier cars. That car, I think, was up to $260 yesterday. And Mr. Seinfeld called me up and said, see what you can find out about it. And everybody was buzzing about it. And we're going, God, what is going to be the benchmark for a Speedster with a non-original engine, but an Emory engine and an Emory Outlaw chassis and brakes and everything else that Rod does? Well, guess what? It just sold for $500,000, and it was purchased by another friend of mine, crazy Eli Kogan, who has got his own car storage joint there, and he's going to store it in his place in Scottsdale, Arizona. So congratulations, Eli. Really funny. I was just chatting with Rod a moment ago, and he said, you got to hold. There's 30 seconds left in the auction. And, well, look at all that. Anyway, here I am. The gates opened up. I'm walking in. It's just going to try to take it in for a minute. There's a lot of stuff that I'm looking at here. Holy crap. This is going to be great. There's Rod Emory unloading a 356 off the trailer. He's holding a fender in his hand and a phone in his other hand. And handing it off. What did he just buy? Well, this is he's got an old 356 with some looks like a roller actually, wheels on it, and it looks like it's going to be the next Emory 356. His son Zane is there. Wow. And he's just pulling parts off. What do you got in there, Rod?
Because I always get a little bit of damage.
It's all right. Finish your call. What do you got?
All right, buddy. Okay, so, okay.
He's going to get off the phone. He's going to talk to all of you. Oh, by the way, let me fill you on just one other thing while Rod's wrapping up on the phone there. The Zagato 356. Rod, give me just 1 second, and then we're going to start. I made a note of this to mention. The Zagato 356 of Spike Ferriston and Paul Zuckerman, the Morris Solomon Zagato, is getting on a plane this week and being flown to Los Angeles. We are showing it at the Works Reunion up in Monterey, which I believe is that Friday of Monterey Car Week. I don't know the date, 17, 18, 19, somewhere around there. Maybe it's the 16th, I don't know. But you can come see it there. Come lavish praise on it. Come make fun of us. Come scratch your head and tell us what you think it is. But it will be there, as well as don't forget that I have two forums, one with Adam Carolla on Thursday at 2 o'clock, which might already be sold out. I apologize. And Patrick Dempsey, the Porsche Racing panel with Patrick Dempsey and Hurley Haywood, where we're talking about racing Porsches. That is Friday at 11 a.m., so check that one out too. All right, let's get going. Where'd Rod Emory go? Rod, where are you? Oh my God, there's a 914 tucked in the corner away here too. Grab a microphone, my friend. Are you ready to talk?
I'm ready.
Thank you for inviting us all out.
Hey, thanks for coming today. Sorry, it's a little crazy right now. I just bought a little A coupe that just showed up on a trailer, and that auction on Bring a Trailer just closed.
I just
for that
was
Speedster.
just telling everybody, keep the mic close, otherwise they're going to yell at me.
Okay.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting us out here. I've never done a show like this before. I've been so curious about your garage and how it works here. I'm sure everybody listening around the world is also very curious too. You're going to today just walk us through and kind of show us how it works.
Yep.
Right? I've never been. The stuff we're seeing out here in the parking lot, you just unloaded a car. Tell me what's happening right here.
Well, yeah, so that A coupe was kind of a rescued project that I just bought from a guy. It was a car that he was having restored at another shop, and it had been sitting there for about 2.5, 3 years and just wasn't getting any action or moving along.
Let me just stop you there. That car was in a shop getting restored. That thing,
Well,
that roller.
Well, the beginnings of it, if you look, there's some floors in it, and the nose was taken off.
Let's go look.
So now we're gonna.
I understand why he pulled it.
So.
This-
It
I
happens.
see. Okay. Yeah, there you
It
go.
happens all the time. You know, unfortunately, these projects, once they start stripping the paint and they find all this Bondo and all the brass and all that stuff, and, you know, these cars, you got to realize, these cars, when they were a $3,000 car, there were $30 repairs done on them all day long.
Okay.
And so that's why there's such poor work on so many of these older cars, because, you know, they were just banged up and they just fixed them and got them back on the road. Now these cars come here to get fixed properly and to be upgraded a bit, which you're going to see today.
And what are you doing to this car?
This will be another car, another candidate for an Emory Outlaw. So it's a perfect candidate. You know, this is a car that needs floors, needs longitudinals. You can see the nose was taken off because it was full of brass and Bondo. So we'll repair everything. The car will get disassembled, media blasted. So this is really how the majority of our projects start. Wow. We find them like this, kind of a rescue, kind of like dogs. You know,
Show me the Bondo right here.
Yeah, so you can see how thick it is on the cowl.
Right,
this car
right.
probably had the hood come open and it caved the cowl in. And then they brazed a new fender on, and you can see all this brazing.
Yeah.
And then the rust underneath. It's just kind of part of the deal. It's just
Here comes the fender.
Yeah, there's the fender. So,
what is that made of?
well, it's mostly plastic.
Oh,
now.
yeah, there's the
So
steel.
the
I
old
see.
the old
Yeah,
fender.
yeah.
But the cool part is the car also came with a new set of fenders from Trevor's Hammer Works in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
He makes really good quality parts, and a new nose panel from Restoration Design. So it came with some good parts. And just like the Pre-A that's sitting next to it, that's a 53 Pre-A that you can see is pretty rough and ragged.
Don't worry, everybody. I'm going to take 1,000 pictures, and I'll put it in the post when I post the podcast. So as you're listening, you can swipe through and look at some of these cars. Now that, I can tell, not being a bodywork guy, that's a lot of Bondo.
That's
That
a
looks
lot.
like someone put some silly putty all over
There's
it.
a lot of Bondo,
Holy shit.
a lot of crappy welding, a lot of
Wow.
But you know what?
Is
this is what we start with. That way we can bring these cars back.
Yeah, I
and
guess.
and do
Look
what
at
we're gonna do.
this.
Yeah.
So who the hell did this? Looks like I did the body work.
You would have done a better job than this.
Slime or something. My God.
So this car has been sitting. Obviously, that was all the work that was done on this thing was probably done 20 years ago, and it's been
Right,
sitting ever
yeah.
since. I actually got this car from the guys over at Vintech. I don't know if you know who Thomas and those guys are, but they're doing a 912 project that's really cool. They're in El Segundo, or right over by SpaceX. Anyways, really cool guys. But this was a car they thought they were going to do a restoration or start doing something with the 356. But when they realized that these 356s need so much metal work, I think they turned me onto the car, and I bought it from them because it's a perfect candidate for what I do.
Yeah.
I love cars like this because I'd rather have a car that is missing the original engine and that's full of Bondo and that's rusty, because then I can bring it back. Because when I build these cars, I go through and replace and repair all that stuff anyways, and I'm not going to put the original engine back in. So I don't ever start with a car that has a numbers matching engine and all the parts, because
Right.
leave those cars for, guys like your buddy Jerry that want this stuff all perfect and proper. And
I don't know. Getting back to the auction, congratulations, by the way. Great for the brand. $500,000 for that Speedster.
Thank you.
He had called me about it 3 days ago. He's in London. And said, what do you guys think about this? And I said, funny, I'm going to see Rod, but it's going to be right as the auction's ending. And he goes, I kind of want to buy it. I'm like, don't you have 10 Speedsters? He goes, but I don't have That Speedster Spike.
Yeah, it was a really good car. I built that car in 2008. It was a 56 Speedster that was sitting on the side of a barn on the 99 freeway, just off the freeway under kind of a lean-to. And I got a call from a friend of mine, and he said, Rod, he goes, I found the old farmer's Speedster under the lean-to. You got to be here within 24 hours with $75,000 cash. Have you ever gone to your bank and said, hey, I need $75,000 cash?
Yeah, do they do the kidnapping thing?
They do the kidnapping thing, and you have to go to 3 banks. And, banks only keep about $15,000 on hand.
Did they really do the kidnapping thing?
No.
They did it to me.
But they made me...
But just to be clear, I was buying my 70S back in the day, and all I needed was $30,000 in cash. The rest of it, and the lady goes, she looks at me, and she goes, is everything okay?
Oh.
I go, what do you mean? She goes, is everything okay? Blink if you're in trouble. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, you're taking a lot of cash out. Are you okay? Is there someone holding someone hostage? It really happened. I wasn't joking. And I know other people here where that's happened to.
Yeah, no, I was...
So you get the $75,000.
I was in Oregon at the time. This was 2008. I grabbed a buddy of mine that was tough enough to, help me wrangle, drive 16 hours with $75,000 in the center console of the Ford, and we beeline it down to, just north of Fresno and hand over $75,000 in cash, load this thing in our trailer, and we take it back to the shop. The problem is, I posted some photos on my Instagram. The problem is it was so full of spiders and so loaded up that as soon as I brought it to the shop, I tented it with plastic and I put like those bombs inside, the raid bombs inside of it. But anyways,
this is the blue car that Eli has.
Yes,
it's the Spider Speedster.
It's the Spider Speedster.
It is now officially, Eli, the Spider Speedster.
But it's an awesome car. It turned out to be it didn't have the original engine, but a really good, solid car. When I media blasted it, and then we did our typical thing with it. We put 911 rear suspension, annular disc brakes, 901 4-speed transmission, couple hundred horsepower.
Can I ask you a question? On the Polo engine, did you have to put a different hood on to squeeze that engine into the back of the Speedster?
No.
You didn't?
Nope.
Now, how come I've heard that you have to do that sometimes that engine does not fit?
Well, but I'm not going to tell you all of the secrets.
Oh, you have a secret.
I do. I've got lots of secrets.
You have a secret. This is just a special message to Jerry. Jerry, I will get this secret for you. Where are we walking to?
Okay, we're going to walk in here. You're not going in the workshop yet.
Okay, let's get out of the sun.
Let's get out of the sun. We're going to go in the only air-conditioned room in our building for a couple of minutes.
A pair of double black doors here.
And the first thing you see...
Wow. Oh, my Lord. My Lord, what a little room this is.
So this is my little...
cars, ladies and gentlemen, 4 of them. 4.5, actually. You'll know what I mean in a second when you look at the picture. Go ahead. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So, this is my little sanctuary. So the 4 cars that are in here, I mean, people already know that I love silver, and I wear black T-shirts all the time.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Certain things, I eat the same thing for lunch every day, kind of weird stuff. Hot dogs? No. I have this, this meal that my wife prepares for me.
I want to know what it is.
It's steak and mushrooms and couscous, and I eat it 4 to 5 days a week. But anyways, I'm one that, I don't want to have to worry about what am I eating today, what shirt am I putting on, any of that stuff, because I've got so much other stuff that I focus on every single day that there's some things that I just let be standard.
Take a look at what I'm wearing. Do I look like I put any thought into describe what's on my hat?
Oh, yeah. So, Chris Craft hat. Yeah, come on.
And a pair of old Vans and some ripped jeans. Anyway,
so
cars here, this little place, when I walked in, you probably don't see it because you see it every day. But when I walked in, I went, I just felt like that. I went, I could just live here.
Well, thank you. So,
this is beautiful.
The first car you see is the
what a room.
The 1951 Le Mans winning 356 SL that you and Jerry helped me with details on. So that car sits kind of right at the front.
Can I ask you a question about the parking of this car?
Yes.
I noticed it's a little more left than straight. Why?
Well, it's a little more left so that the guys, as they're walking towards the lunchroom,
don't drag anything
against it.
Copy.
Because it is right here in the middle of our workshop, and it sits here every day. It was at the Peterson Museum off and on throughout the Porsche Effect exhibit, but now it's back here in its little home.
But this isn't your car.
It's not. This car belongs to Cameron Healy. He was my first client first person that I built cars for and took racing. We've been working together for over 25 years. And but I built the car, restored the car, and I am the custodian, or I guess the caretaker of the car forever.
That could be the greatest deal in the world for a guy I've ever heard.
It's pretty cool. Well, Cameron and I had so much fun finding the car, discovering the details. Did Cameron
drive the car?
He's driven it.
He does. So he leaves it here.
He leaves it here, and I take it to events. I deal with the media stuff.
It's also comforting to know if anything goes wrong, it's with the guy who can fix it, right? I understand that. I like that.
Yeah,
that works.
and
can I leave a car here with you?
And if it's gonna, if the car's going to Rensport, he meets me there, and we enjoy it for the weekend, and then I care for it and bring it back. So we're kind of like co-owners. I'm just not on the title.
Wow. Next to it.
Okay. Next to it is my the first Emory Special I built. I built that car in 1998. And that's a 65 or 64 Cabriolet that I leaned the nose back, leaned the windshield back, rolled the rockers, raised the wheel arches, and it's got a trailer hitch on the back.
It does.
In fact, the first time I met, I know we always bring up Jerry, but the first time I met Jerry was in 1998. I had just finished this car and restored a little Ariba Pook trailer to tow behind it. And Amy, my wife, and I, we were married for a couple of years, and our son, Zane, was only 3 months old. So the three of us traveled around the western United States, and the first stop was at Monterey for Porsche's 50th anniversary, and we were driving this, towing our little camp trailer, and it was a great time. And Jerry came walking up to me when I was when I had driven the car into the pits, and he sat in it and crawled underneath it, and it was pretty cool. That was so that's
beautiful.
So that's my Emory Special that I built in '98.
We have a 904.
Yeah, so this is chassis number 906011. So this is actually a 6-cylinder Works 904.
Wow.
So as many of you might know, the 904s had a 4-cam, 4-cylinder engine, but then when Porsche developed the 6-cylinder and were getting ready to introduce the 906 to the world, they took that 6-cylinder engine and put it in a handful of 904s. And they raced them, and this is one of the cars. This is chassis number 11.
And where did you come across this one? I got to grab just a look in here.
This car has been was a factory works race car for years, and then it was owned by Jamie Mazzata, then Jeff Lewis, and Stephen Dudley, and I acquired it from Stephen Dudley for Cameron Healy, my client that owns the SL, and then we restored the car. Again, it was restored originally back in the 80s. Kevin Jeanette at Gunner Racing restored it, and then it was raced for years. So we ended up having to do another restoration on it, and then Cameron raced it from 2009 up until about a year or two ago. Did the Le Mans Classic with it twice. Went to Spa, did all kinds of events with it. But he recently just sold it to a new gentleman that had us go through and freshen the car up as a proper 906 street car or 904 street car.
Yeah, I was going to say,
so
you can put a license plate on it and you can drive it anywhere.
It's set up for the street now.
It's got the same visibility as a new Lamborghini.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't look behind you.
So, yeah, and then next to the 904 is probably the lowest mileage 79 930
really
in existence. So it's got 60 original miles.
Come on.
It's never been driven except for the 60
the red dot sticker on the rear mirror. Is that original? Is that some sort of weird factory original plastic that I don't know about?
It is.
Zorzi style greatness.
Wait,
where does the 60-mile 911 turbo come from?
So a friend of mine that lives in New Jersey, a businessman that loved 930s, bought two of them. This is a 79 special edition. It's actually a 1980 technically, built in 11 of 79. So it has the 85 mile an hour speedometer, and he bought two of them. He bought a black one and a silver one, and the plan was drive the black one and let the silver one sit in his office area until he needed some work on the black one, and he'd start driving the silver one. Well,
right.
He never drove it, never registered it, never did anything.
God.
And then, after 6-7 years, you kind of get to a point where you're like, it's probably not a good idea to start it and drive it.
Right.
The brakes have never been, if you look at the brake rotors, they're still kind of, surface rust. Nobody's touched the brakes.
Good Lord.
It's as delivered. I mean, if you open the door,
What are delivery miles in 1979? Is it still 20 miles, or is
it was 60. It was
It
60.
came with 60.
60 miles when it came to the States.
Unreal.
Yeah, but you got to realize it was a turbo.
So you don't
know.
start it up. You
No.
don't do anything with it.
It's here because we're considering going through and resealing everything just carefully, and then running it on a chassis dyno just to circulate everything.
Yeah, you got to, right?
So,
you got to
yeah.
keep it moving along.
So-
Well, this is amazing.
Pretty cool, huh?
And so this is your big four.
Yeah.
And then when I said a half, we have a little tiny old speedster kid car up there, but not one that I've ever seen. It also appears to be lowered. It's got the nipple hubcaps on there, Porsche hubcaps.
And an Outlaw badge on the deck.
And it does. Let me see. Wow. What is this? Where did this come from?
All right, so yeah, this is a half-scale speedster that runs, drives, turn
So
signals.
this is half scale.
Turn signals work, wipers
Come
work.
on. Can I touch it?
Yeah. Everything works. It
Wow.
runs, it drives, has a
about
little
as good as my
a little
Speedster
5
directional.
horsepower Honda engine that runs through a regular muffler, so it actually sounds like a 356.
No.
If you look at the muffler,
Look at that. Yeah.
so it has the sound of a 356, but everything works on it 100%.
It's amazing.
It's just an amazing little car. So this body was a body that my dad bought for me when I was about 3 or 4 years old, and my dad never made it into a running, driving car. So then Bada Mataya, you know Bada, right?
Yes, I do.
So Bada was had a son that is about 8-10 years younger than me. So Bada's like, hey, if you're never going to finish that thing for Rod, maybe you'll finish. Maybe give it to me and let me finish it for Brandon.
Yes.
Well, so Bada starts working on it, but in true Bada fashion, he overdoes everything and made every little detail so perfect. I mean, the license light, the tail lights, the
it's
the
beautiful.
reflectors, every little piece is so detailed. So
But wait, where did your dad find it?
he bought it at a swap meet, just the body.
It just happened to be a tiny
speedster.
356
But the
shell
deck
laying
lid, the
around?
deck lid and hood didn't open at the time, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't have like all this cool trim stuff. So it was
amazing.
Bada and his team at Bad Company, which they're Bada's now retired, but he went down the path of building this for his son Brandon, but he never got it finished by the time Brandon was too big to drive it. So
And the speedster seat, the tiny speedster seat.
every little
It
detail.
looks like a real one.
Yes.
It's just a little tinier.
So
it's really impressive.
So we have
It's an
enough.
impressive
We
model.
have enough parts, pieces, bodies to do about 20 of them.
Right.
We just don't have the time. We're too busy building full size cars right now. But
Yeah, who's not going to want this for their kid? But I would not spoil a kid with this. This is too great. No kid should have something as
so I
nice
have
as
a little
this.
trailer that I put it on, and I took it to Luftecolt at
did.
at Ganal Lumber.
Okay.
So a couple people have seen it, in public, but it's super cool.
All right, we're with Rod Emory at Emory Motorsports. We'll be right back with more Spikes Car Radio. Let me tell you something. Did you know most people have no idea whether or not the motor oil they're using is good enough to protect their engine? Everybody's driving around not even caring about what's going on under the hood. Only one brand literally goes the extra mile to test everything, including ensuring they're the right motor oil for your car, and I'm talking about Valvoline. That's right, Valvoline is the only motor oil brand in the world with an engine lab completely dedicated to testing motor oil. Valvoline takes their products and their competitors, I might add, and runs them through the gauntlet. I'm talking thousands of miles. Then the engineers and technicians take those engines apart to evaluate exactly what happened. Please don't try this at home. Trust that Valvoline has done it for you. Was there carbon buildup? How did the seals hold up? Did the engine perform like it was supposed to? And most importantly, were the critical engine components protected? You don't know, but Valvoline does. So when Valvoline is formulating motor oil for your engine, they know exactly how it performs and what protects it best, because they've seen the results firsthand. It's why I trust Valvoline in my car, and it's why Valvoline has been trusted for more than 150 years. Head over to Valvoline.com/Spike to see what product is right for your engine. That's Valvoline.com/Spike.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, welcome back. We're with Rod Emory heading into his design room. What happens in the design room?
Well, once we get into the workshop, you're going to see that most of what happens in there is, all old craftsman style, banging on sheet metal and all that. But we do a lot of digital work. If you come on in here, you can see, we have to design our wheels.
Hey, Phyllis.
So Chris
yeah, look at
has
that.
been working with me since about 98. And whenever we have an idea that we want to, change the door handles on the cars, then he'll 3D scan them, and we'll do a 3D print, and then go to machining, our aluminum handles, our wheels, kind of all that stuff. So Chris handles.
So these are 3D printed, these tiny wheels, right?
Yeah, these are tiny. And so we always do them quarter scale first, just to kind of proof of concept.
Right.
And then from there, we'll move on to actually machining full size
And there's
stuff.
your 3D printer right there, the Carbide 3D.
So,
Can you ever put, like, in a 3D printer something edible and then print something nice to eat, like a sandwich? There are? Yeah. What is the substance that it prints? Fondant.
Like that crappy stuff that you wrap on a cake to make it look good?
Yeah. It's, I made my son came home 3 weeks ago and said, I want to make a cake and I want to put fondant in it. And I said, excuse me? And I said to Eric, I don't know what fondant is, but he wants to make fondant. And that's how you would do it. And it's very malleable, kind of like Play-Doh.
It's how they make cakes look pretty. All those,
Yeah, no, I know. We made it. We ate it. I've consumed about a pound of fondant in the last 3 weeks. Oh, God. I'm sorry, I just broke someone's
breaking
fan.
clocks.
Now, who's this guy? You've got on the wall here this skateboard with a beautiful Hoyer watch on the back.
So yeah,
and he's on Instagram. Right?
He is, yeah. Lugcraft.
Lugcraft.
Yeah,
right,
so he does some really cool stuff. If you saw the other ones that we have over in the corner,
that's beautiful.
He did some 356 Outlaw skateboards for us and some other stuff. But he's also working with us on horn buttons and a couple of things that are directly related to
I know,
our cars.
but a skateboard with an Octavia, Sifford Octavia on it. I didn't know he was doing that. That's
pretty
like
awesome,
made
right?
for me.
Pretty awesome.
That's what I do on the weekends. I skateboard. And to have a Hoyer on the bottom, nobody said I could do that, Lugcraft. You said you wanted to do something with me. You didn't say I could make a Hoyer skateboard. I'm in. Let's do it.
So
and look at this.
My wall of miniatures.
The wall of miniatures.
So Zane and I, my
this
son.
Is awesome. By the way, was that Zane outside?
That was Zane.
So
yes.
he's working here this summer.
Yeah. So he's when he's not, he's on the Goldbergs.
Yeah, he's a very successful actor.
Yeah. Right now he's currently on the Goldbergs, a Marvel show, Runaways, and The Rookie. So, but when he's not on set, he's busy here. He's got a 911 he's working on. And
amazing.
And
I've seen his car. That's an amazing car. What an amazing life he's got going on. He
good
must
stuff.
be bringing down the girls, huh?
Yeah.
Right? Proud dad.
Plenty of options. Plenty of options.
He could be the new Steve McQueen here, right?
You never know.
And he's a racer, and he's got
lots of potential.
Yeah.
And he's got and
pressure on you.
He's a good guy. Just turned 21.
Wow.
And
life
is good.
Imagine that. Life is really good for him.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So these Zane and I started collecting these back in the day when he was on my back in a backpack. We'd go to these Porsche events.
Yeah.
And
I've got a bunch too. Look at them.
Every year we'd go to the literature toy swap meet, and I'd load them up with a couple, and then the collection just kind of started expanding.
I'm impressed
from there.
that he did not break them as a small child.
Oh, there's plenty. There's boxes of broken ones.
They're beautiful, really fun, and a really neat idea on how to display them.
Well, this is all.
God.
So the vertical pipes are actually the old air pipes out of our old workshop. And so those galvanized pipes used to carry the air through our workshop.
You just make it all, right?
Yeah, we do.
You build it all. Look at that. A prototype speed Boxster up there.
Yep. Yeah.
How do you keep? How do you deal with the model car dust?
I use one of those Milwaukee blowers, and I blow them off once a week.
Oh wow!
And just a little battery powered blower.
Wow!
And I just blow them off once a week. So
he has a solution for everything, ladies and gentlemen. The die-cast model dust. It's a Milwaukee blower. That's all we needed.
All right. So welcome to the workshop.
Oh, it's nice and noisy in here.
Yeah, I'll get the guys to quiet down a little bit. But
so we're gonna make noise
as you walk into the workshop. I'll kind of walk you through the different stages. So where we're at right now is kind of the entry door, and on my right is all of the machine shop tools. So we do our own machining, like mill and lathe work, and then over to my left, we do all of our welding and fabrication. So like 901 transmissions, we're modifying them to put in the 356s, and then this rack right here with the picture of my grandfather's cars above it, that's where we do the first step of the process. So we disassemble the cars, and then we send them out for media blast. And then as soon as they come back from being media blasted, then the first thing we do is look at all of the areas that need to be repaired and all the old damage. We were looking at some of that on the car outside.
Right.
But, you can see that pretty much every one of them is full of lead. It's got a lot of, brass and rust holes and nose clips put on.
Can I ask you a question? Why are people putting brass on a body for
So
fixed?
it was a way to repair the cars years ago that was lower heat.
But before Bondo or after Bondo?
Yeah, it was kind of before Bondo, about the same time.
Okay.
It's just that brazing rod melts at a lower temperature than regular steel rod. So that meant that they could put the new nose panel on and braze it with lower heat, so you'd get less distortion in the metal, which meant less body work.
Got it.
These days, we fix it all properly. So we gas weld it all, we TIG weld it, we planish all the welds and get them so they're as good or better than they were originally.
Can I ask you a question about back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, when a car was like crashed, front or back, was it common to take the front end of one car and the back end of another and weld them together? Was that just something you did? And would that mean that there were two different VIN numbers? I mean,
you mean like chopping cars up and taking? Yeah, I mean, a lot of times they would have to because, basically taking a car that was crashed in the rear and a car that was crashed in the front and making one good one. That still happens today. Unfortunately, there's still shops that are that do shop work. But
they can't. But wouldn't that mean you'd have to salvage the car? Or
yeah, technically that would be a salvage title car.
Right. I see. Okay.
We don't do that in the shop here. I mean, we go through and fix everything. There's times when we'll take a nose panel and put it on the tail, or we'll mix the formula a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed when you drove in, but our building doesn't say Emory Motorsports outside. It just says bakery in German.
Yeah.
Because all we're doing is mixing ingredients in this building.
I liked it. It was intimidating, and I felt like, oh, boy, I hope I'm invited in. I said to the listeners, it was a little like being outside Willy Wonka's, and Willy Wonka's about to come out, and you're kind of like a Willy Wonka. You're the Porsche
Willy
guy.
Wonka, I guess.
You are, in a way.
So,
right,
once the cars are media blasted and disassembled and we evaluate them, then that's where they go through the phases of all the sheet metal work. So that's where we start repairing the nose and tail, doing the new floors, doing the longitudinals, strengthening the chassis, doing the modifications for the suspension.
Right.
Kind of all of those processes. And you can see all the tools behind it. This is an old early 1900s English wheel. This is a Liebert shear from the 30s, 40s. Wow. All of our Polmaxes are, 60s era, 50s, 60s era. So our tools are old school.
A lot more cars than I saw in your last shop. I mean, I'm just looking around now. I'm seeing at least 20. It's a much bigger operation you got going on here. How many cars are you working on? Or are you having this?
15 space? In progress at any given time, and then about 20 on a waiting list.
Wow.
So when you were at the last shop, that was a smaller building. We had three other buildings that we had stuffed in.
Yes.
Now you're seeing a building that's a couple 100 feet long, so you're seeing all of it in one place.
It looks like much more of a workshop than it is a display. The last one felt like there were more cars on display rather than being worked on. And you've really gone down the workshop wormhole here. Look at that. Engines over here. This I could sit and stare at this. Like, I want to come back and smoke a cigar and just look at some of the angles.
So what you're looking at
there... look at the picture I'm taking right now.
What you're looking at there, those four-cylinder 911 engines, it's a pretty unique collection of engines. So I don't know if you know the history of the four-cylinder 911, like the Polo engine.
No, I don't.
Okay, so
I thought the Polo engine was a cut-up 6, right?
So, but originally, an engineer at Porsche in the 60s, Paul Hensler, was tasked with the project to see if it was feasible to build an overhead cam 911 style engine in a four-cylinder for cars like the 912 or future projects. It wasn't something they moved forward with, but the design and concept was done. Then in the 80s, a gentleman, Chuck Beck, who built the Beck 550 Spiders and Speedsters, he took a 911 3-liter engine, cut the case, welded it back together, and made it a four-cylinder. So his prototype is actually the one in the back over there. I bought that from...
You bought the prototype?
I bought his prototype.
Where did you find that?
I bought it from
the swap meet?
Yeah, pretty much. No, I brought it from a friend of mine. So the one over there in the back, that's the prototype Chuck Beck engine. So you can see it says Beck Spider on it.
Come on.
Okay,
Oh,
so he
that's
was
really
the first.
cool.
He was the first one to actually cut and weld the case together. Then Dean Palopoulos, that built and designed the
Yep.
Polo engine, his prototype is in my car that's in the showroom, the first Emory Special.
No way.
So Dean built his engine not long after Chuck did. Chuck decided not to go into production building them. Dean built his, and then so his prototype's in my car.
So is this the engine you put in most of your 356?
This is the only engine I put in my
This is the only
356.
one, okay.
And then the one over here to the right is one of Dean's new engines. So I still buy some of Dean's engines to put in some cars.
And why one engine versus another engine?
Okay, so Dean's engine is based on...
By the way, just spec out this engine. What kind of horsepower are we getting in a Speedster with a Polo?
So Dean's engine is about
200?
185 horsepower.
Oh, my... Okay.
My engine, which is next to it, so that's
Yes.
an Emory engine, which looks similar, but it's based on the 964 architecture.
Right.
Mine is 205,
Oh,
and then
come on.
and then this one, which is fuel injected, is 260.
Oh,
and then
no.
the turbocharged engine in the RSR is 393.
You're putting 260 in a regular old Speedster.
Yeah, with fuel injection and Motec and all the.
I have
cool...
175 in mine. I have a Will Hoyt motor
Yeah.
in mine, and as I'm driving it, I'm always thinking this will be the thing I die in because it's so great and it's so fast. I think I've driven a Polo engine before. There's an incredible sound.
Yeah.
What do you have to do to balance out the car, if anything, when you're putting 260 horsepower in there?
Yeah, it's
Is-
really...
Is
it's
there a
an-
weight difference to the engine?
No, because, well, there is a slight weight difference. It ends up being about the same as the 4-cam engine.
Okay.
But really, one of the things that I do... Hold on just a second. Hey, Carl! I just needed him to take it down a
Thanks,
notch
Carl.
as we're banging on stuff in the background. So, obviously, you want to minimize the amount of extra weight hanging off the back of any Porsche.
Right.
So what we
But you're
do-
saying it's the same as a 4-cam.
It's
which
the
is
same as a
fine.
4-cam engine.
Okay.
We also take the engine and transmission and move it forward in our cars. One of those little secrets.
Not
So
anymore.
my package moves forward.
Okay. Headed towards mid-engine a little bit.
No, I mean we're only talking an inch and a half, 2 inches,
Right.
but it makes a difference, right?
Okay.
And then we use a different transmission. So I use like a 901 transmission, which gives you plenty of reliability for over 200 horsepower. Because a 741, probably like what you have in your Speedster,
Right.
is only good for about 175 horsepower, and then it will start to devour itself.
Right.
So we have to use the 911 transmission. We either use a 901 or a 915 or a G50 in our cars. And then brakes and suspension, you've got to stiffen the chassis because you've got so much more torque and so much more power. So we stiffen the chassis. And then we also go bigger sway bars and bigger brakes and all that stuff. So that's why our cars
Wow.
aren't. We don't just bolt an engine in. Like for somebody that has
you need to be able to stop. You need to be able to drive it. You need to be able
for
to
somebody
turn
that has
and
an
do the rest of
original
it.
Speedster and they want more power, my first recommendation is John Wilhoit because he builds the perfect engine that is a bolt-in to your
Yeah.
regular 356, and you don't have to do any modifications to
Right.
it. It can always be changed back. My cars, you have to modify a number of things. It can be changed back, but you have to do a lot of work to get it to change back.
I told my 9-year-old I was coming here today, and he was flipping out. He goes, "Are we finally building the Emory 356?" And I said, "James, can you bring the Speedster there now?" And I go, "I'm not going to ruin that car. We're going to get a new one. We're going to do this."
Hey, watch those ruin words. I'm just kidding. No,
Well,
no,
I don't
get
want
it.
to. No, but that car is perfect.
You don't
It's
need
done, and it's for the exact reason you just said. It's like it's pretty much a spec'd out 58 Speedster
Yeah.
with a bigger engine. I want to. When I come to your shop and I see this stuff,
Yeah.
I want to start from scratch with you. I want to say, let's start with that engine. Let me go find my burned out husk.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's build something beautiful.
Well,
like
as you can
some
see-
of the things that I'm looking at here, like the gray. What is
Isn't that
that? A
beautiful?
Nardo gray, or is
That is Porsche's 50th anniversary gray. That's the 50th anniversary gray. Is that
can't-
gorgeous?
It's unbelievable. And what are you doing? This is what I would want to do. I'd want
Yeah.
to start with something like that and make it go really fast.
Yeah.
What
Well,
are you doing with this?
That is for Matt Jacobson.
Oh, that's Matt
That's Matt's
Jacobson's
wife's car. That's
come on.
That's Christopher's car. Yes.
Well, he must love her a lot, but
Yeah.
I hope he's going to steal that back from himself.
yeah.
for
So that's
himself.
Christopher's
Matt.
car. Isn't it gorgeous?
His wife's name is Christopher?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's no way, knowing Matt and his love of cars, there's no way he's going to let her drive that more than he's going to drive it.
But he has a couple of really. He has that Speedster that I found for him, the Patina car. He's also got the Compton.
I know, but that
we're doing some cool stuff to it
I'm
too.
Just kidding, Matt. He's a very generous guy, and what a sweetheart to buy his wife this car. But this, I may have to do the exact same one.
It's really a pretty color.
Is absolutely gorgeous. Is he putting that motor, the 260 horsepower motor, in there?
Absolutely. This one we're doing a Sportomatic transmission. Though.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
which
interesting.
Would be fun. I've done some. I've done an automatic car, which the haters can hate. But for Christopher's car, we're doing a early 911 Sportomatic transmission, and
that is wild.
Yeah, so it'll be really
what an
cool.
Interesting project.
And a roll bar, and then a platform in the back for the dog, and all kinds of cool little stuff. Now this one to the right is for a whim. This is for a lady in New York City. So this is a car. I took a cabriolet and leaned the windshield back, rolled the rockers.
Right.
It's got the oil. All the oil system is behind these little doors.
Oh wow!
In front of the wheel.
Are those Techno Magnezos?
No, this is just a set of roller wheels that we're using on the car. These are not. These are just some kind of cheap steel wheels.
What do you use for wheels on the car?
I have my own wheel that we've developed
do?
for the cars. Yeah, they're actually they're a 5.5 to a 7 in width by 16. So that's what I put on most all of our cars.
So that was what we were looking at when in the 3D printer. You're making those wheels yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I change them. Depending on the car, depending on the style. We mix up our wheel design a little bit. They always are reminiscent or look like the old original wheel.
Yeah,
but
they do. They're beautiful.
So
now there are a lot of cars on platforms up here.
So everything
and below platforms. Are these all projects waiting to get done? Or are these cars that I can come and pick out and go, let's
well, everything on the
make something
top shelf is on the waiting list, and everything on the bottom shelf or under the shelf is some work in progress or upgrade. So, like the silver car I built in 2001, it gets one of the newer Polo engines in it, and a couple of little details that we're doing to it. This black 356, the third one over, is for Debbie Ackerman, that her husband owns Godin Porsche in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So this actually used to be one of our old race cars that I bought back from one of our race clients to redo as a proper Emory Outlaw street car.
Do you get offered your cars?
I do. Most people call me up first. Hey, I'm going to sell the car, and I'll say, well, then I'll buy it. You know?
Of course.
Because I always have. Right now, we have about a 2.5 year waiting list. So there's always. I have a running list of instant gratification guys, people that want one of my cars today, or clients that we've already built one car for and they want another one. And so, most of our clients have 2 cars.
What a deal you got going on here! What a deal! Now look at here would be my second favorite colored car in the shop.
Bally Blue Twin Grill Roadster.
Holy crap! This isn't, you're killing me today, Rod. You're killing to me on a Friday, bringing me to a place like this, making me look at this stuff. I'm dying. I'm dying with jealousy and envy.
You.
And if you guys got to go to Instagram and check out the pictures I'm taking. I'm going to post a lot, and you'll see what I'm talking about. What a beautiful thing to look at,
So this gets tan carpet, saddle color interior. You can see on the bench next to it, we're trimming all the carpet, which we do right here in the shop.
Is Bally, because that looks like dark blue, plain Dunkelblau.
But when you see it, and when you see it outside, Bally Blue is a very interesting color because it looks dark on the sides, but as soon as you put it in bright light, it just comes alive.
Yeah. All right, look, Rod. One more quick break. No, 2 more, and then we'll do some quick questions, and we'll get out of here.
Cool.
We'll be right back with more Spike's Car Radio.
Well, if you know me, you know I love animals, and I love cats especially. I used to have a couple of cats that would scare me when I'd walk into a room. They'd be waiting for me, and I like that. You know what I don't like, though? Cleaning up after cats, especially that litter box, which is why Arm & Hammer created the new Cloud Control Litter. There's no cloud of nasties when I scoop. It is 100% dust-free. Free of heavy perfumes, helps reduce airborne dander from scooping, so what happens in the litter box stays in the litter box. New Cloud Control Cat Litter by Arm & Hammer. More power to you, man.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back. We're still in the workshop here. We're going to take your questions in a minute. Look at it. It's like,
Yeah, so
it's so beautiful to see these sculptures. I almost, sometimes I just like things to stay in that condition. Like they look like just beautiful German skeletons.
well, these cars, the projects end up staying in bare metal for anywhere from 6 to 12 months because there's so much work in the chassis. Like you can see this car, we've done all the floors, longitudinals, all the work underneath the car, suspension adjusters, all of that stuff.
This is the brass.
But this is more brass. So
There's
the next
more brass.
step on this car will be the exterior skin because, we've got to fix all the old repairs.
Right.
But you can see the chassis has already been totally redone. The actual floors, this has all been reinforced even more down in here to give the car more torsional rigidity. We've built roll bars right behind you for a number of the cars.
Gorgeous.
So there they are stacked up there kind of ready. So once we build that, then we have it powder coated and ready to go in the car.
How do you deal with roll bars in street cars? What do you recommend your clients do? To wear a helmet or pad them? Or,
no, what we do is
we
do them because we build them custom for the car. So we do them all the way to the outside and all the way up tight to the roof.
Okay.
So they're not anywhere near your head.
Nobody's getting knocked on the coconut.
Nobody's getting knocked on. And then we, like with Christopher Duke's car, Matt Jacobson's wife, on her car, we're wrapping it in leather, doing kind of cool stuff.
Matt, I want you to give me that car for my birthday. Forget the wife, buddy.
So the rest of these cars are a work in progress, something that we're either, in progress or we're waiting on something. The ones over here to the right, this 55 coupe with the roof rack and my luggage, that's my personal 55 coupe that I drive all the time.
Yeah, I've seen you in that. And then down here you've got something absolutely delightful and delicious. Vintage Honda dirt bikes. What are these?
Okay, so
50s or 75s?
These are CR 125, so 1974 Elsinores.
Oh my God, that brings back memories.
On my little trailer that I tow behind my car.
Beautiful.
And
you
this,
ride these?
I do, yeah. So,
where do you take them?
Akatia Wells, El Mirage Dry Lake. These were both actually a gift. One to me and one to Marco at TLG. These were gifted to us.
He seems to come up every podcast
for Christmas.
These days.
What's that?
He seems to come up every podcast.
Marco, he's always somewhere. But Marco, so Kevin Jeanette at Gunner Racing gave these to Marco and I for Christmas 2 years ago.
No way.
And Kevin has a huge collection of motorcycles, and he knew that I raced motorcycles and ATVs as a kid, and Marco always wanted one.
My buddy Tim Pappas got a couple bikes from him too.
He did, and in fact, speaking of Tim Pappas, Tim was in on the prank when these were gifted to us because it was Tim Pappas's Christmas party at his house.
Right.
Kevin calls me up and says, "Hey, Rod," he goes, "we're going to play a prank on Pappas at Christmas at his party." And I said, "Okay, so I need you and Marco there. You have to help me prank him." "Okay, no problem." So we get there, and I'm stressed out. How am I going to prank, Pappas? He says, "Don't worry. Just call me when you get there, and I'll give you all the details." So we show up to the Christmas party, and Ted Gashu is there, and everybody's there. All the the regulars. We're there, and I'm stressing, trying to figure out when I'm going to call Kevin. Finally, we go down to the garage, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna call him." So I call him up, and I said, "Hey," I said, "Kevin, I got Tim here. What's up?" And he says, "Tim, open the garage." Tim opens the garage. These two motorcycles are in the garage. And I said to Kevin, I said, "Well, what's going on?" He goes, "The prank's on you." He goes, "Those are for you and Marco." So Tim was in on this deal. Anyway, so
it's not really a prank; it's a surprise gift.
It was a surprise gift, but it was. We thought we were playing a Christmas prank.
I get it.
And then that little red
356
notchback is a super cool car. That's the one that Zuckerman needs. But I told Zuckerman I wouldn't sell it to him until he comes to visit.
Zuckerman is on his vacation, his yearly vacation.
Okay.
He likes to go to swinger resorts. He's at a place that the Sandals people have started. It's Thongles. It's a play on thong.
Oh,
it's
perfect.
Thongles.
Thongles.
So he's there with his family.
So this is
having a nice time.
This is a really cool little T6 notchback. Now they only built a handful of these.
You
Very
know,
rare.
Zuckerman would lose his mind if he came here.
I know.
It would be. He would be making 7 cars at once.
So
he doesn't. He's a carnivore. He would lose it.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't bring him. I knew he would end up spending every last time that he had.
Well, that was a car that was daily driven by a lady in Santa Rosa. She drove it all the time.
But
it's all original, numbers matching.
All of us, and we can make something?
Nah. So anyways, so
why wouldn't we turn this into something?
Well, maybe we could, but so this lady drove it. She passed away, and her daughter needed to sell it, and so Matt Jacobson and I bought it for fun, so that we could have a cool little car to drive. And I've been driving it around a bit. I parked it back here right now just because I've got to keep focused in the shop. But unfortunately, Matt said something to Zuckerman, and Zuckerman says, "Well, I want it." And I said, I won't sell it to Zuckerman. He hasn't even come to visit me. Yeah. And so, anyways, that's the little joke. But it is
once he gets his
super
DPs
cool,
cleaned up from bongles, he'll be fine. Is it an original car? It is original. Red,
it is,
right?
yeah, and it's all numbers matching.
Wow, what a beautiful little car!
It's a cool little car.
No end to it, is there, Rod? Well, why don't we do this?
Yeah.
Let's go sit down.
Okay.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to answer some of the listener questions. You're so popular, Rod, that in my normal Q&A, I just got a bigger response than I get from my normal posts. I have like 100 questions, so we'll answer a couple questions, and we'll get you out of here. I know you're busy. We'll be right back with more Spike's Car Radio.
Think of all the weird things you find in cars. I'm not talking about your garden variety petrified French fries or melted crayons. I'm not talking about Moise's groceries in the front boot of my GT2 RS. I'm talking about live snakes, bizarre trinkets, the kind of stuff that just makes you wonder about folks. Actually, Moise's groceries made me wonder about him. Weird vegetables I'd never seen before. Another thing that will make you wonder, but in a good way, are Continental belts. Bet you didn't know they're OE in tens of millions of Chrysler, Dodge, and Ford GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE on the majority of BMWs and VWs. Now, Continental is launching the aftermarket multi-V belt with the OE pedigree. It's the OE Technology Series. Belts that are fanatically engineered for perfect fit, form, and function, and Continental has an OE Technology Series multi-V belt for 98% of vehicles on the road in the U.S. and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises when you work on cars and trucks. A belt should not be one of them. Go to the Continental OE Technology Series multi-V belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. To get the full story, visit oetechnologyseries.com.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, welcome back with Spike's Car Radio. We're here with Rod Emory, Emory Motorsports. We're sitting now in his lovely little hangar space, and we're going to take your questions. Yes, sir, you over there, you have a question. You've posted them on Instagram. I'm going to read them to the best of my ability. There are about 100 here, and we'll answer as many as we can. G-Jen wants to know, and I believe Jen works down at the Porsche Experience Center, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's great. We love her. What's the most exciting project you have come up with? And what an incredible trip to Germany. What was the best part of your trip? Let's start with the trip. That was an amazing thing to see you there, visiting the homeland.
It really was. I've been in this Porsche world, and this has been my life's work for 30 years, and I've never been to Germany, never been to the factory, never toured any of that over there. And so it really was a dream. So,
did they show you things that they don't show other people?
Oh, we saw so much cool stuff. So many things
what?
I can't tell you about.
Share with us.
Now, so, I mean, we did.
What does that mean? Well, now back up. Does that mean future things?
We saw future things. We saw.
Are there exciting future
electric
things?
Cars driving around, and it was really a cool. No,
did you see things that you went, oh my God, I can't wait to get that?
So to back up a second, Amy and the kids and I, we ordered a new Panamera GTS family car through our friends at God and Porsche. So we got to do the whole European delivery experience.
It's great.
So anybody that has never done that and wanted to, you have to.
It's awesome.
It is an amazing experience.
No one's going to do it until they do it themselves, and then they're going to say the same thing. We all go, oh, yeah, I know what it is. But when you do it, you lose your mind.
Awesome.
Right,
and then the factory tour that goes along with it, lunch. And so that whole part of the experience. I want to know
what they showed Rod Emory that they don't show everybody else.
Okay.
Share with us in a general way.
All right. So I was invited to enter the gates at Weissach, which was ultra amazing. And for those of you that have never been there, you have to check your phones and sign your life away and all that other good stuff.
So you signed an NDA.
Because Weissach is where everything Porsche happens. That's where the design studios are. That's where the wind tunnel is. That's where Porsche Motorsport is, and the racing division and the test track. Mm-hmm. And so obviously there's I can't give you details of what took place, but I
Did you really sign an NDA?
You go through. Well, here's the deal. They invited.
Can you
me,
tell us at least? Is this where they got the name for the Weissach package on my GT2?
So they invited me to come and give a presentation to the design team and style. So we entered this big auditorium room, and there was about 150 people that were super friendly, welcoming to Amy and the kids and I. And I got to give a presentation that lasted about an hour.
Did they understand a word of it?
100%. Everybody over there speaks English. They don't always lead on that they do, but they all...
I noticed that they're very stoic in the daytime, and as they start to drink the beers, they start to get really happy, and then it goes away again.
And then,
welcome, Spike. Would you like an appetizer?
Everybody that we met at Porsche, in all
greatest,
aspects,
right?
They all spoke
You
English,
had to say that,
and
NDA.
they were wonderful.
All right, here's a question that I have. Are they coming to you now for tips on how to make things?
Well, I think what Porsche has recognized, which is really cool, is they've recognized that today's customer and consumer wants personalization, kind of customization on their cars. Everybody goes to, with Porsche's exclusive program, everybody wants that certain stitching or certain colors, or they want to change to carbon fiber, and, can we do different wheels? And, you look at this Carrera GT recertification program, or the 959 program, where you can take your car that was built, years ago and get it recertified, new color, kind of reborn. And so they've recognized that there's people like me, people like Roof, Gunther Works, Singer, people that are customizing stuff on a little larger scale that have a pretty good understanding of what some of those customers want. But they've also realized, from what I can tell, that they understand that we're not stealing customers away from them, that what we're doing is reinforcing their brand.
Yes.
And so they've been a lot more inviting and friendly to people like myself the last 10 years, because we're all in this together. I'm
I would
building
say in
and
a lot of
restoring.
ways you're more popular than they are, and
Well,
you're
but
connecting with a younger generation than they are, and they're trying to play catch up with that a little bit.
Well, they've got their Porsche Classic program, which is really focused
You're the
on
Porsche Classic program.
Well, no, I mean, they've got a really solid program, and we spent a half a day with Uwe that runs Porsche Classic, also with the team that's reproducing or remaking all of the original parts for all the early cars.
That was a very good thing.
And I brought over backpacks full of parts for them to make. So
That's
proper
great.
original fuse blocks and covers and all these original parts that they can now have as a sample to build perfect
Can I ask,
stuff.
how did they not have these original parts themselves?
So
they
Porsche
just threw everything away as stuff was going on, or is it?
So to understand the way Porsche manufactures stuff, they build the bodies and a number of the parts, but there's a lot of things that are made by manufacturers like Bosch or other manufacturers.
Copy.
So when Porsche was building these 356s, they had vendors that were building all of these parts from all over Germany. Those parts would come as they were building them, and what happened is when Porsche stopped buying those parts from the supplier, those companies would throw away the tooling, throw away the extra parts, throw away the even the blueprints sometimes.
Right.
So Porsche Classic is now playing catch up a little bit, that they want to make sure that us as consumers of the brand have original parts, or as close to the original parts as possible, to keep our cars running. Wow. Whether it's a 964 RS that needs some weird little widget that's no longer available, or it's a 51 356, Porsche is doing its best to evaluate what parts are really going to be needed in the marketplace to keep these cars alive, and they're trying to do their best to remake them to the exact specifications and with the tooling. Now, there were a number of the
How heavy was your backpack?
It was heavy. It took, it was really.
Did you check that? Did you bring it and put it on the plane, or how did it work?
I did. Yeah,
you did.
I did, and I got together. Lucas has become a friend.
What did the TSA guy say when you put that through the thing?
He's looking at it and he's like, "What is all this electronics?" So one of the guys, Lucas,
it's just a backpack with some wires and heavy metal in it. Nothing to worry about, sir. It's not at all a bomb.
So Lucas, that works at Porsche Classic, he's kind of head of some of these parts. He's the one that did the new toolkits. I don't know if you've seen the amazing toolkits that are now available for us. He's been here to the shop a couple of times and dug through my warehouse of parts, which I didn't show you the warehouse of parts.
Another time.
And knew that I could supply him with great pieces for them to reproduce. Anyway, so not to be long-winded on Jen's question, but Jen, it was amazing over there.
And I posted an update to the Zagato. I did the update to the Zagato. It'll be at the work show, God willing. A lot of people asking about your trip. All right. What can you tell us about the new RSR that you made that perhaps we haven't heard yet? That's from Third Pedal.
So
and I saw it up there. It was up on a lift, so I got to see underneath it. It's beautiful. What a beautiful thing to look at.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild car. You know, for me, I mean, my roots and everything that I've done in Porsche really, you know, as a kid started because I loved racing and going fast and innovation and all that. My first car that I built, a 53 Coupe, was a car that I built to go vintage racing. So, you know, that's why I'm not afraid to modify stuff. The 356 RSR is a car that I've just always wanted to build, where you use as many later model Porsche parts and kind of infuse them into a 356. And that car started because Enrique, that owns Momo, came to me and wanted a car that had some draw back to, or a tie back to Momo's heritage. With Porsche. And it all started with that wheel that I designed for it, which was a throwback to the old 935, 962 wheel. And then if you're going to have a big center lock wheel, you got to have big power and all the other stuff. To answer his question, something that most people haven't really seen or heard about with the car, it's a car that isn't going to stop being developed, just like a race car. You know, you build a race car, and it goes to the first race, and it performs, and it wins, it does whatever, but you continue to innovate and develop and make cool stuff.
It's really how Porsche designs cars too.
They do. They never start from scratch. They just kind of get better and better.
Right.
That car is going to continue to evolve as well. I mean, one of the reasons we made the nose, tail, and all that stuff removable is because we want to continue to push the envelope on suspension and handling and all that other stuff. And that has our first twin turbocharged engine in it. And Enrique has been so cool in letting me just continue to develop the platform that it's really become kind of a test mule, as well as a car, as a promotional vehicle for Momo and a fun thing for Enrique.
Twin turbo making
393 horsepower, and it weighs 1,950 pounds.
Oh, come on.
And
it delivers that smoothly, or are we spinning wheels?
No, it's wow. It's got big tires on it. It's got limited slip and all that cool stuff.
That's fun. Wow, I want to drive that. All right, Anthony Day has a good question for you. He wants to know what you think are the differences between the 356 and the Carmen Ghia as an Outlaw platform. Primary differences.
So I have built one Carmen Ghia Outlaw. I built a car that is owned by Tim Allen. And it's a Carmen Ghia that has Porsche headlights in it and a speedster dash and 901 gearbox and a bunch of cool stuff. Wow. I personally love the Carmen Ghia. I mean, it's kind of an awkward-looking car, but it's got its place in Volkswagen's history and really kind of a neat little platform.
Obviously, are there restrictions as far as like choosing a 356 over a Carmen Ghia?
Well, I think what he's asking is kind of, maybe what could you or could you not do in the Carmen Ghia? Well, a Carmen Ghia is not a unibody car like a 356. A Carmen Ghia is a body on pan like a Volkswagen Bug. If you look at a Volkswagen Bug, it has this pan that you can pull the body off of, almost like a frame. Carmen Ghias are constructed similar to the way a Bug is. So, you're never going to really be able to overdevelop or develop amazing suspension and handling on a Carmen Ghia unless you do it like my friend Jochen Bader in Germany. This is a car I got to ride in. Now, you see me get a little excited.
Yeah, I did.
I've never been in something so blazing fast in my entire life. Jochen used to be the head of Porsche Classic for 8 years. He's retired from Porsche Classic. His personal project is he took a Carmen Ghia and he put a 993 engine, transmission, and suspension in it.
Come on.
This thing is unbelievable.
And it fit.
It's a Carmen Ghia that has 350 horsepower, and it is so blazing fast.
And the front wheels off the ground? Does it just ride like that, like a wheelie?
It handles amazing. And the coolest thing is it's TÜV approved. It's TUV approved. he showed me binders that were about 6 inches thick of all the engineering and development that he had to go through with the German,
Oh my God.
equivalent of DOT to get
Right,
the thing
right.
approved. like lift, at 140 miles an hour, how much lift did it get going down the Autobahn? And they played with different spoilers and all this stuff. It was
How do you measure
unbelievable.
lift at 140 miles an hour?
He has all these pictures of contraptions that they put on it
Yeah.
with sensors and height gauges and
Wow.
little sensors on the suspension.
So he really has nothing to do. He
It
doesn't
is
have a wife. He
unbelievable.
has no family.
No, he does. He's
just-
got a great family, and his wife has this big graphics company. But he
there
just-
we go.
Yeah.
And
But
he's
anyways,
like, I'm going to make cars
so
with your money, lady.
so
That's a little
there are
Zuckerman
guys
for you
out there
folks.
building some really cool car
That's
Gias.
amazing. All right, let me get to a couple more questions. I'm going to get you out of here. Jerry Horton
Yes.
said to say hello. Do
Ah.
you make cars for him?
I've never built anything for Jerry, but he's become a really pretty
He's a
good
big
friend.
fan, right?
And well, he's a hot rodder. He's got a
He
really
is.
cool Merc. For those of you that don't know who he is, he's in a little band called Papa Roach, which
Yeah.
is one of my all-time favorite bands. Great guy. He
And
super
loves
cool guy.
the brand, the Porsche brand.
Loves the
right?
cars. He took a really amazing photo. I think it's still one of the most viewed on my Instagram of the back view of the 356 RSR at SEMA when it was in bare metal. And Jerry took that photo and I posted it. And it immediately got like 15,000 likes. And it was just, just a lot for me. So
Yeah, that's a
it was-
lot
it-
for anybody.
it was
What are you talking about?
Amazing. So.
All right. We talked about the Speedster that's going on Bring a Trailer, Sawyer, that wrapped up at $500,000. It was bought by our mutual friend Eli Kogan. And I ran into a guy who was at Malibu Cars and Coffee last week. Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to talk about that. They don't want the word to get out about Malibu Cars and Coffee. Anyway, there was this beautiful green 356 that was an Emory 356 that I heard was built at the same time as the Aquamarine car.
That's correct. So that's John Linfesti that lives
Okay.
in Santa Monica.
That car is gorgeous.
So I built that stone gray A coupe,
Right.
and the Speedster for a gentleman up in Seattle, Richard Emerson, and he is the one that ended up selling the cars. But I built both of them at the same time for him. 58 A coupe and this 56 Speedster.
So they were both for the same guy.
Both for the same guy.
Wow.
Yep. Really cool article in Classic Porsche magazine that talked about both of them being both those cars. This was done maybe in 2012 or 2013, but the article is talking about how they're a wolf in sheep's clothing because they're both very subtle on the outside, but they've got Polo engines and 911 suspension and annular brakes.
Wow. All right, here's a great question. I love this. A streetcar Wade desires. They can never just put their names. By the way, it's Jim. This is a good question, though, whoever you are. If Rod could have someone else build him a car, who would that be and what would it be?
Oh,
Very open-ended kind of builder car question. You can pick anything, any builder.
wow.
That's good, right? I
You
like
know,
that.
I have so much respect for so many builders out there, and obviously
You can only pick one, Rod.
I can only pick one.
They'll be fine. They understand.
Wow.
And it's just today. I know every day we feel differently about what we might buy and what we desire. But today, as you're sitting here right now.
Is it have to be Porsche or
No, it does not. It can be anything. Any builder.
any builder out there, like well known or just
Anything.
backyard builder? Okay, well,
This isn't like a real quiz show. There's
well,
no
and
S&P department
and this might
here.
not be the answer that they're looking for, but if there was any builder out there that I could have build a car for me, it'd be my Uncle Don. He is the one that taught me how to do body and paint work back when I was 10, 11 years old. In fact, he restored a few cars for Jerry, Don Emory down in Fallbrook, California. He's retired now, just building some cars on the side. But
Well, why can't he build you something, Uncle
I would
Don?
have him build me a 29 Roadster pickup. And
Yeah.
and the reason why is because one of the first cars that I ever drove as a kid, I was 10 years old at the West Coast the West Coast Customs event up in Paso Robles, and I there was a guy and my dad and a bunch of other guys that were drinking beer, and this guy had this little 29 Roadster pickup, and I was driving it all. I was 10 years old, and I was like kind of shuttling them all around at the event and all around Paso Robles at the West Coast Customs event. But yeah, if I could have any builder build me a car, it would be my uncle Don Emory build a 29 Roadster pickup.
That's very sweet. Phil 99362 says, no question, Spike. Just want to say it's the greatest podcast of all time. Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. I know we got to get you out of here, but there's a question that someone asked that's a good question, and it'll be a nice discussion. We won't really be able to get in as deeply as I'd like to. I think we could do multiple episodes on this one. But I actually want to know this. You're a good person to ask, and that is, what happened to James Dean's Spider, the 550, and his Speedster?
And his Speedster.
The Spider and the Speedster.
You know,
I changed your question. I know it's not written the way you wanted to, but first, the Spider, what do you know about the Spider? Because I know a couple things about it, and it doesn't quite exist in its
current form.
Yeah, right. It's parted out.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's the biggest mystery cars on the planet.
550, right.
And, if that car ever was to officially surface, it would probably be the most expensive Spider of all time.
But after the crash, there were a lot of parts that were separated from the car, right? And the bot...
It was all to come back together, and somebody was to restore it.
You're looking at me with a little smile on your face, like you know somebody. Jerry and I, 6 years ago, went down this road, right? And we actually found what we thought were significant pieces of the car. Yeah. And then I believe it was a dentist who ended up with some significant parts, and someone else who had some significant other parts. And then,
but it's also cursed,
parts.
Right? You know about the curse?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And so
but I don't believe in that. I'm a Boston Red Sox fan.
I don't believe in it either. But it does make me a little nervous.
Right.
If somebody says, "Hey, Rod,"
but is that consistent with what you've heard? Like that there were, let's say, 3 dumpsters full of parts in different parts of the world, right? The body. The drivetrain.
So from what I understand, yes.
The wheel was maybe on somebody else's 550
but
on the East Coast.
There are a few people that know where everything is at.
There are?
Yeah.
Wow. And who are those people? You're smiling
Come on.
again.
I'm not going to...
Tell me what Porsche's up to right now,
I'm
Rod.
not the guy. I'm not the guy. But
so someone is onto this, and someone is...
Well, of course. We've all... It's been the dream of all of us, right? I mean, you and Jerry, 6 years ago, were doing the same thing, trying to see what you could find.
All right. When we turn this off, you're going to tell me what you know. I got to get cameras on this. I've got a production company. I've got to start shooting this right now so that when they're done, I've got a show I can sell to Netflix. Anyways, you're looking at your watch. I'm looking at my watch. We both have to go.
That's my wife.
Just
saw Speedster went for $500. That is awesome.
That's so sweet. I can't believe she noticed.
Oh, of course, right? Right there on my watch.
What a wife.
Oh, my wife. She's a trooper.
What a wife. Yeah. What a wife.
Yeah, she's in it.
Huh?
She's actually up in Big Bear right now at girls' camp with my daughter.
Dude, I could be on the biggest TV I've been on, and it's like I won't even... What did you do today? Oh, it's just on Stephen Colbert. That's what I did today, honey. Oh, okay. What's that weird car in the car? Oh, it's a GT2. You don't even know just not paying attention at all. That is the sweetest thing I've ever seen. We're going to leave it right there. What's your wife's name?
Amy.
Amy, you're the best. You're the new favorite wife of Spike's Car Radio. Rod, I'm going to have to say this. Well, I'm going to have to come back again with Zuckerman. We're going to look at cars. Thank you. I know you're hugely busy. Thank you so much for taking time out. Well, I'm going to be up at Pebble, and if you want to hang out with me, Pat Dempsey, and Hurley Haywood, and get some advice on how to race your Porsche, I won't be able to give you that, but Hurley and Dempsey will. Go to the Pebble Beach Concours forums and get yourself a ticket. They're going to go fast, but they are up on the page right now, and they are for sale. If you can't make that Friday at 11 a.m., Thursday at 2 p.m., I got Adam Carolla. He's taking a break from the Monterey Historics and driving that beautiful 935 that he owns, and he's going to come and hang out. He's probably going to be wearing his racing suit and be sweaty and have smudges of dirt on his face. And, again, we'll answer all of your questions, and we're going to have a good time there, too. So, again, go to Pebble Beach Concours forums. And, Rod, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Hey, it's Adam Carolla letting you know about my newest podcast, Going Racing. Me and Matt, the moderator, DeAndrea, that is. We'll highlight the fastest cars. We'll talk about the best races and the best celebrities in motorsports. Subscribe now at Podcast One.